Hi everyone, welcome to my channel International Storyteller. In this channel you will find true horror stories worldwide. These stories are for entertainment purposes only. In this video, I will tell you the true haunted story of the White House. The White House is the oldest building in the President's Park of the United States of America. In 1792, the White House building began construction in Washington, D.C., which is the capital of the United States of America. The President of the United States used to stay in the White House, and the building was opened for occupancy on November 1, 1800. The first people to occupy the building were the second President of the United States, John Adams, and his wife Abigail. When they first moved to the White House, parts of the building were unfinished. There was no running water installed in the White House until 1834. So water had to be brought into the White House by jug and used for bathing or washing clothes. Abigail Adams often hung the family's laundry up to dry in the driest room, which is located on the east side of the room. After her death in 1818, people started seeing the ghost of Abigail Adams. Many people today report seeing the ghost of Abigail Adams hanging her laundry in the east room of the White House. Other people sense the spirit of Abigail Adams, as she often leaves behind the smell of soap or her clothing as she passes by, carrying the laundry on her way to the East Room. Thus, for the first time, the White House became haunted by the spirit of Abigail Adams. But people still don't know the reason why the spirit of Abigail Adams haunts the White House. After Abigail Adams haunted the White House, many other ghosts came to be seen inside the White House. The first one is the ghost of David Burns, who owned the land on which the White House was built before he sold it to the federal government of the United States in May 1791. After David Burns' death, his spirit has been seen in the new presidential office. During President Truman's administration in the White House, many staff and security guards who were working in the new presidential office started hearing the ghostly voice that said, "I am David Burns." The second spirit who haunts the White House is the ghost of a British soldier, dressed in a uniform from the War of 1813. In 1813, there was a battle in York, in Upper Canada, and this battle is known as the Battle of York. In this battle, the American force attacked and burned the Parliament buildings of Upper Canada, which were controlled by the British. In retaliation, a combined British force attacked and captured Washington, D.C. in August 1814. And set fire to the White House. Since then, people claim to have seen a ghost wearing the dress of a British soldier and carrying a torch. Many believe this ghost might be one of the British soldiers who burned down the White House. The third ghost who haunts the White House is the ghost of Anna Surratt. She is the daughter of Mary Surratt, who was convicted in relation to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln is the 16th President of the United States of America. He was assassinated by a well-known stage actor named John Wilkes while attending a play called Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. While watching the play, President Abraham Lincoln was shot in the head. Mary Surratt was found guilty of the assassination of American President Abraham Lincoln and was sentenced to death by hanging. Her daughter, Anna Surratt, forced her way into the White House the night before her mother's execution. She pleaded for her mother's life, claiming that her mother was innocent, but was unsuccessful. The next day, Mary Surratt, along with others who were found guilty of assassinating Abraham Lincoln, was publicly hanged. Since then, many White House staff claimed to have seen the ghost of Anna Surratt returning to the White House every July 6, silently banging on the front door to seek entrance and continuing to beg for her mother's life. Thus, many ghosts can be seen haunting the White House, but the most active and important ghost that is still said to haunt the White House is Abraham Lincoln's ghost. President Abraham Lincoln was shot on April 14, 1865, but he died the next day, on April 15, 1865. Since then, several presidents, along with their families and staff members, have made contact with Abraham Lincoln's ghost as they heard footsteps in the hall outside the Abraham Lincoln bedroom. President Roosevelt, who was the 32nd President of the United States, said that the family dog, Fala, would sometimes bark for no reason in the room where Abraham Lincoln used to stay. President Roosevelt and his wife Eleanor Roosevelt never admitted to having seen Abraham Lincoln's ghost, but they did feel the presence of the spirit of Abraham Lincoln repeatedly throughout the White House. President Truman, who was the 33rd President of the United States, was once woken by a loud knock at the door while spending the night in the Abraham Lincoln bedroom. When he opened the door, he saw the ghostly shadow of President Abraham Lincoln. Many people also claim to have seen Lincoln's ghost directly. The first person reported to have actually seen Abraham Lincoln's ghost was Lady Grace Coolidge, who was the wife of the 30th President of the United States of America, Calvin Coolidge. Lady Grace Coolidge said she actually saw the ghost of Lincoln standing in a room near the window and staring outside the White House building. Other White House employees have reported seeing shadows of Abraham Lincoln standing in his bedrooms. Perhaps the most famous incident of seeing Abraham Lincoln's ghost was in 1942. In that year, Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands visited the White House. While she was staying in the White House, she heard footsteps outside her bedroom. She opened the door to see who was there, but saw the ghost of Abraham Lincoln standing in front of her, wearing a coat and top hat. At that moment she passed out, and she woke up the next morning on the floor in front of the Lincoln bedroom door. The last sighting of Abraham Lincoln's ghost was in the early 1980s, when Tony Savoy, who was the White House operations foreman, came into the White House and saw Lincoln sitting in a chair. Many presidents and White House staff see Lincoln's ghost inside the White House, but this is not only the scary one. Another scary incident about Abraham Lincoln's ghost is the funeral train of Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln served as the 16th President of the United States from 1861 until his assassination in 1865. Lincoln led the nation through the American Civil War and succeeded in preserving the Union of the United States of America. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln on April 15, 1865, shocked the nation. 6 days after his death, the coffins carrying his dead body were placed on a train and left Washington, D.C. The train carrying Lincoln's body was pulled by a steam locomotive for transport. The train began its journey from Washington, D.C. all the way to Illinois, with stops until it reached its final destination of East Albany Station, where the dead body of Abraham Lincoln would be buried. All along the route from Washington to Illinois, people lined the tracks to bid farewell to the president who had fought and won the Civil War. The train's route passed through most major cities in the northeast part of the United States, and the train arrived in New York City on April 24, 1865. Abraham Lincoln's coffin was removed from the train and processed through the city for the thousands of mourners who gathered to see his body. After the procession, the train departed New York City at 4:15 p.m. on April 25 and traveled through the evening and overnight until it finally reached Albany at 1:55 a.m. on April 26. Ever since then, in various parts of the nation, a ghost train similar to the one carrying the dead body of Abraham Lincoln has been spotted. Around the anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's final journey, Albany area railroadmen reported seeing a ghostly version of the funeral train of Abraham Lincoln traveling on the rails. At that moment, people often say that they feel a cold rush of air on the track, seemingly out of nowhere. Some people saw the train as a blurry figure of the ghost train moving slowly away. They also claim to have seen many skeletons aboard the train. The most strange part is that wherever the train passes, the clocks become 6 minutes late, and nobody can explain how it happened. After a time, on the evening of each April 27 of every year, people began making their way to the railroad line in hopes of seeing the ghost train of Abraham Lincoln as it passed.